And this isn't your first book, this isn't your first rodeo.
It is not, no. I've written a couple of other books based on investigations I've done over the years. One on the Orange Air Ambulance scandal in Ontario, and many years ago a trial of three trials of a man who was accused and ultimately convicted of murdering his girlfriend. And I've done a fiction book recently called The Dead Times.
So how do you find time to balance all this writing? You write a lot.
Well, my job at the Toronto Star, I call myself a player coach. I have a team of 8 reporters and an analyst who do investigations, and I'm their coach, their editor, and then I do my own stories when I have time. I give if you want something done, give it to a busy person is what I've always learned, I think.
And how many stories a day will pass by you with all your creative writers?
Well, when we do investigations, they typically take a fair amount of time. I have 2 reporters, for example, right now doing an investigation into lawyers. They worked on that story, the 2 of them, pretty much full-time for 3 months, and it'll be published shortly. So I'm constantly looking at their work and guiding the investigation. We also get, as I'm sure many people in the media do, many calls, which are always welcome from the public, calls and of course emails these days, people suggesting we investigate stories, and I tend to be the person that does the first taste of these, if you will, to see if it's something that we feel worthy of investigation. Sometimes we hear something, we don't investigate right away, we wait till we hear more examples of that, and then we decide to drill down. So it's a lot. I don't keep track of it, but there's certainly a lot of people. I find more and more, Mandy, over the last decade, as government gets out of the business of oversight, and organizations are struggling to figure out how to do oversight, that there's been this gulf of oversight, and so there are a lot of people out there in our country who feel that things are not being looked at, and they turn to the media to do those investigations.
And thank you for that. This morning you gave a wonderful talk in front of our class this morning, and after you left, a couple of the classmates had a few questions I thought I would go ahead and ask you, and a couple really good ones is, so we're learning about the Fourth Estate, and we're learning about how important it is, how the role of the journalist, how important your role is, and we talk a lot about how you're protected, you talked about how you didn't care if your phone was tapped, and everybody thought that, that's awesome, that you care more about reporting the news, and but we also thought about, what about your safety from the other side of it? So you're protected from that angle, but then you have to leave work and go be the soccer dad that you are, or take your children somewhere. Did you ever think about your safety when you're reporting a big story like this?
It's very unusual that any journalist in Canada has ever been attacked. There was a quite well-known case of a famous journalist in Quebec who was shot several times and survived. It was involving the Hells Angels. I do get a lot of threats. I've had a lot of death threats, and some of them have actually involved my children. My feeling is that when you hear about a death threat, that's actually good, and this may sound unusual, but if somebody's threatening, they're probably not going to do anything. It's the ones you don't hear about. I don't want to be flippant about it, but the thing is, you got to do your